Shalom Aleichem, a guten Erev Shabbos, Pashas Achrei. In Chabad, this Shabbos is known as Shabbos HaGodel. Why? Because in 1952, the Rebbe farbrengt for 6-7 hours on this Shabbos, and it was really a Shabbos HaGodel, a large, a great, long farbrengen, and it was more than just the quantity, it was the quality of the farbrengen. The Rebbe was very emotional, and they sang the Baal Shem Tov's Niggin, and he turned his head to the wall after facing the people, and made with his hands, and was very, very emotionally charged. And many other things that happened at this farbrengen. Rabbi Yoel would always repeat his recollections and memories of this great farbrengen that showed great concentration, focus, and dveikus on the Rebbe's part in a way that it was observable to the eye. But I want to talk a little bit about a historical event that happened in 1977, I believe, on Shvi'ah Shel Pesach, which is just last week, and its relevance to Pirkei Avos, which we begin saying this Shabbos. There was a Yid, a Talmud Chacham, one of the members and leaders of the Agudas Rabbanim here in New York, named Rabbi Simcha Elberg. Those of us who remember him coming to the farbrengens, and in between the sichas, in between the talks, he would speak with the Rebbe sometimes for 20 minutes, and it was, we were just singing, and the song was quieting down, and then we had to recharge ourselves because he was going on, and the Rebbe was talking to him. And it was obvious they were talking about general issues that were relevant to Agudas Yisrael and Klal Yisrael and Eretz Yisrael. He was involved with all that, and the Rebbe used him as a conduit for his views on many of those issues. Rabbi Simcha Elberg. Rabbi Simcha Elberg was very close with Rabbi Zalman Gorari. Rabbi Zalman Gorari, the noted Rabbi Zalman Gorari, was an Askin, communal activist on behalf of Lubavitch during the Frierdiker Rebbe's times, the previous Rebbe's times, our Rebbe's times, and in general came from the Gorari family, who were the staunch supporters of the Rabbein, the Rebbe Marash, the Rebbe Rashab, great financial supporters, and the Rebbe Shmuel Gorari, the famous Rebbe Shmuel Gorari. And he was a shtik Lubavitch, a piece of Lubavitch. He couldn't cut Lubavitch out of Reb Zalman's blood, And he was very tight with Rabbi Elberg. And Reb Zalman was involved with Agudas Rabbanim as well. And when the Rebbe called for Mi Yehudi, the campaign to fight who was a Jew legislation in Eretz Yisrael and all of that, he had Rabbi Elberg bring it to the floor of the Agudas Rabbanim, and many other things that the Rebbe wanted. Rabbi Gorari was smart enough and knew how to work the system and be part of the Rabbanim, and Rabbi Elberg was schlepped into that, and of course realizing the Rebbe's ga'oinus, his genius, and his specialty as a tzaddik and a leader, it worked very well. And that's a little introduction to both of the individuals. So Rabbi Elberg would speak publicly on Shvi'ah Shel Pesach at the Agudas Yisrael building on 14th Avenue between 45th and 46th Street. Today the building still stands, but it's no longer part of Agudas Yisrael. It happens to be that on that corner was where Rabbi Simpson originally had his house and his shul, and in the 1929 picture when you see the Frierdiker Rebbe coming to America, and he was taken from the port to Borough Park, and he stayed originally in Rabbi Simpson's house. It's that house in the corner. Again, the house doesn't stand there. It was rebuilt, but that whole corner lot that went over into the Agudas Yisrael part of their property was Rabbi Simpson's house, where the Frierdiker Rebbe actually was. I made a clip already about this, and you can look it up online on the YouTube under my channel and other places. You'll see it. I gave many more details and did a recording there. But anyway, so on Shvi'ah Shel Pesach, Rabbi Elberg would speak, and the Rebbe, Rabbi Gorari, and Rabbi David Raskin, who was in charge of Ta'awucha, he sent a kfutza, a group of bacharim and young light and young marrieds and others to come specially to walk from Crown Heights to Borough Park to be at this event to show respect to Rabbi Elberg when he gave his drasha. So the place was much more full than just the Borough Park Jews that came to attend to hear his drasha, his sermon. Mind you, the time when Chabad walked to Borough Park was Shavuos. That's when 2,000 people came, and we'll talk about that another time. Amazing memories of that historical fact. On Shvi Pesach, a much smaller group came, but yet a group came. I happened, as you know, I live in Borough Park, and I happened to go. I knew that the Lubavitchers, my Chavedim, and others are coming, and I wanted to be there. And I remember that he said, at this Shvi Shel Pesach Drasha, I believe it was 1977, he said at the time that he, who came from Poland, I think he from Warsaw, from Varsha, he says he remembers what was the symbol of a Yid in Varsha. A Chassidish Yid in Varsha was his beard, having a full beard. And I recall looking at Rabbi Elberg when he said that. Rabbi Elberg had what's called a Kometsberdel. Just a piece over here. Now, I don't know if it didn't grow. I don't know if he shaved, he trimmed. I don't know. But it struck me as a 17-year-old bacher or so that here he's talking about that the Jew of Varsha was represented and was observed and felt and seen by his beard. And here the speaker who's lauding this and talking about this and what it meant and what it means and what it should mean, he himself doesn't have this large beard. But whatever the case, I remember that. And I remember walking away saying to myself, this is what my father, Zol Gesund Sein, who I was with just this Pesach, taught us when I was growing up. There are the 3 C's of being a Hasidic Lubavitcher Jew. Having a full beard, going to Toim Chetmimim, to Lubavitcher Yeshiva or Lubavitcher Girls School like Besnifke, etc., and not wearing a chup, not having frontal hair here, nice stylish frontal hair. I'm not talking about when your hair overgrows and you have hair. And I'm not talking about because of a chatzitza. I'm talking about when someone wants to look cool and has to have hair here in a certain style. It's called a chup. And my father, railed against this as a child, and it's etched in not only in my memory but in my psyche and in my personality. But I want to talk about the beard, and it just happened that someone called me about a shidduch, and I said no, I don't think it's a great idea for someone, and he called me back and he said, why not? He said, you saw the resume, and it says about this bacher, about this student, that he went to college, he has a college degree. That didn't bother you. But as soon as I told you he's beardless, that you said, forget it. What's the difference? And I explained myself, but I want to share one point with the audience here. This beard that you're looking at, unkempt, kind of, how do you tell a Lubavitcher? An unkempt wild beard doesn't roll it up, Of course, sometimes people roll it up at a certain presentation, but overall, this is the Lubavitcher beard. Regarding the mustache, some do cut it, some don't. I said to him, this, by us, is a mainstay. College, you can argue if it's parnos, it's acceptable. You could say it's more private. Today, the lure of philosophy is not there. If it's a segregated college like a Torah college, what's wrong? There are arguments to be made. I'm not taking a position, but the beard and someone that is seen with a beard, it tells you about the person. Pirkei Avos, we're here to improve ourselves. A basic element that works or doesn't work for the development and the keeping of the tradition and the faith and connection is being authentic to your customs. And if you're a chassid, a chassid wears a full beard. Finished. Anything less is a secondary position. Even rolling up the beard is a secondary position, as the Rebbe Rashab writes. Okay? For sure, trimming the beard, cutting the beard, it's a secondary position. And I'm not your rabbi, I'm not your judge. I'm sharing with you with what Rabbi Elberg said in 1977 to a crowd who was primarily not Lubavitch, although there was a Lubavitch representation. And also, the Satmar Rebbe, Rabbi Yoelish, and the Kloisenberger Rav, they brought in the wearing of the beard and the shtreimel and the shirtuk and the bekishe into the streets of Williamsburg to be proud with your tradition. Tradition. So as we engage and begin in the weeks of Pirkei Avos, the weeks of Sfiras HaOmer, the weeks of refinement, please know that parents, and I'm talking to the parents, to us, the way we raise our children, and we raise them with the way we are, when we start cutting corners, and we start playing around, and we start being ostentatious with our Yiddishkeit, and flashiness and show-offness with the fancy cars and the fancy houses and all of these things, and we justify it for the sake of Torah, for the sake of Achdasas Orchem, one has to be so careful that it's really that way. Because if not, there will be what we call Yenikas Achitzonim. There'll be a nurture and nourishment to the negative side where some offsprings will take it the wrong way and say, look, you weren't authentic. You trimmed your beard. You were lavish. You showed off. You had to have the latest Tesla, etc., etc. So I know, when a Chabadnik gives Musar, it's like, oh, it's incredulous. It's terrible. It's against the basic tenets. It's a mistake, a big mistake. Okay, why is it a big mistake? Because part of Chassidus is self-improvement, and we need to keep the tradition. So yes, I'm talking about having a full beard. I'm talking about showing this to our children. And this, there's no guarantees, but overall, it works. When children see in parents that they're authentic and they're not splurging on indulgences that are outlandish and lavish, and this includes rabbis and shluchim and mashpiyim and sages. It includes everyone. Remember, the way we conduct ourselves is the way our children perceive us, and perception is reality. Everyone should have a gewaldige Shabbos as we start learning Pirkei Avos to improve our midas, our behavior, to love each other, to remember that this beautiful beard that Hashem gave us men, it's holy. The Zohar HaKadosh, the Holy Zohar, says it's a funnel, a vessel for parnasa, for health, for children, for every wealth, for everything, especially parnasa. So here you have it. You think the investment in the stock market or in real estate and up and down and Bitcoin and this and all that, just invest in your beard. Yeah, it might be hard to wear a full beard. It's fuzzy, it's scraggly, it scratches, it doesn't look so nice. Be authentic. And when you're authentic, people see that and they say, this is the real McCoy. Have a great Shabbos. We'll see everyone in Yerushalayim. Bye-bye.